Welcome to the Operation Self-Reset Podcast. And now your host, Jake Naraki.
What is going on, Reset Nation? Welcome back to another great episode of Operation Self-Reset, the one only podcast to truly transform the person you are right now to that person you strive, crave, and want to become. Like always, you guys know the drill. You rock. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for spreading the word of Operation Self-Reset through all of the social media channels. I thank you for subscribing. I thank you for telling your friends and family and everybody that you know about this podcast. It's growing in popularity day after day. My rankings are shooting up the charts, and it's all because of you. It doesn't matter how much I go online. The only true way to spread the word of Operation Self-Reset is through word of mouth, and I thank you for that. And if you haven't already, spread the word for me. I'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. Speaking of social media, I do have a Facebook fan page. I'm trying to reach 1,000 likes. If you haven't already, head on over to facebook.com/OSR fan page, and you will see that I provide daily inspirational quotes, videos, content that I am producing on the Operation Self-Reset platform, and then you'll get all the updates about new podcasts, new ideas and resources and tips and tools on how to reset your life. So if you haven't already, head on over there. And like always, we are going to start this podcast with a quote. And if you have a quote that you absolutely love, that just tickles you from the inside out, please head on over to your email and send an email to me. Go to ask@osreset.com. Send me your favorite quote, and I will be sure to feature you on an upcoming podcast. So today's quote, it's actually two of them, so quotes, comes from David. David, I have no idea where you're from, man, but I appreciate the email. His goes like this: succeed to fail as to fail is to succeed. And his second one is, you learn more from failing than doing it right the first time. And I could probably go on a 15-minute rant about these two quotes, but I'm not going to, because we have a great interview today with Coach Alex. But again, if you really have a quote that you want to share with the world, head on over to your email, send it to me, ask@osreset.com. So today on the podcast, we have Coach Alex. I connected with him just via online. And next thing you know, him and I are bouncing emails back and forth. And I had to get him on the podcast because he was a swim coach for a very well-known college. And he decided to go after his passion. He cut the cord. He brought himself out of the pool, dried off, and is now pursuing his own personal goal that he has had for quite some time. His story is unbelievable. He has truly gone through his own reset, and I'm so honored to have him on the podcast, and I know you guys are going to love his story and love the way that he thinks about life and how to succeed in all different areas. So here is Coach Alex. Coach Alex is with us for today. I kind of ran into him just by looking at a couple of his videos. Him and I connected. Great guy. I'm so honored to have him on the podcast today. I think you guys are going to be thrilled with all the information he has to share. Alex, man, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I've actually listened to a couple episodes, so it sounds like you have some big plans for 2014.
Yes, I do, and thanks to you, Alex and I had a little mini mastermind, so I'm trying to get myself ready to go for 2014, make it the best year yet. But Alex, not too many people know about you. Let's talk about who you are and what how did you get into the speaking, and how did your journey get you to where you are today?
Sure. Well, one of the things I always tell people is if you end up getting in the speaking business and you meet a lot of speakers, you're going to run into people that like to talk a lot. So I'll try to keep it short and to the point. But my journey, I always say that started when I was 11. I always wanted to be a motivational speaker. And at that time, I don't think any teacher or any career counselor is saying motivational speaking is a career you can get into someday. Right. And that's what's going to happen. But I've always been fascinated with listening to the Zig Ziglars of the world and the Tony Robbins. And I can even remember my parents were involved in a business where they would go to these seminars and I would sneak in to listen to these amazing and dynamite speakers just talk. And I just always was mesmerized. And so while maybe didn't realize it, that I knew that I wanted to get into that coaching and speaking world. But my path after college actually took me into a different direction, which is actually coaching swimming, as a matter of fact, at the collegiate level. And I was I had a really successful career as a college coach. I actually became one of the youngest college coaches in the history when I took over a program at 23 and had a great time doing it and really just enjoyed working with those athletes and really enjoyed making an impact. But around about, I guess I was 27 or 28, and I just remember thinking to myself, man, do I want to be doing this the rest of my life? Do I want to be just working on my swim coaching and technique and work in this world? And I kind of always went back to when I was 11 and thinking about, this is what I wanted to do with my life. This is the type of impact I wanted to make on the world. So I said, you know what? I'm going to give it up. I'm going to quit. I'm going to start my own business and motivational speaking and coaching business. And, everything's supposed to be great and everything turns out to be this great story. Well, if anybody's out there has started a business, I wish if you started a business that's been successful right from the beginning, then kudos to you. But I know I struggled. I was almost to a certain point begging for business, after 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And it was tough. There was a lot of things that happened in my life. Especially when you tell someone you're going to become a motivational speaker, friends laugh at you,
right.
People make fun of you.
Right.
And
guilty.
Honestly, oh yeah. And I know I've heard your speech. It's amazing how people just say, okay, sure, whatever. And they roll their eyes. And and people that were, somebody I was dating at the time ended up breaking up with me as I was going through this journey. So there was a lot of struggle to it. But I guess now it's about 2.5 years later, I'm actually been doing very well, having actually a nice list of clients where, and a lot of speaking engagements where I feel just very fortunate each and every day to actually make a positive impact on other people's lives. And now that I'm actually doing it, I think a lot of people validate it as if, well, you've made it. Well, I don't know if you've ever make it. You just always want to continue to make a positive impact. You're continuing to find ways to improve yourself, and you're continuing to find ways to just, I guess from my perspective, better the world. Right. But that's kind of the short version of how I got to where I am today.
Sure. Let's talk about for a second when you made that transformation of, swim coach to motivational speaker. Let's go back during that time. And I think that, obviously this podcast, Operation Self Reset, changing the person you are to the person you want to become. You knew you wanted to become a motivational speaker. Talk to us about, how did you set yourself up? Was it kind of cold turkey? You just totally said, hey, I'm putting in my papers, next season, I'm out of here. What was going through your brain, and how did the people around you kind of affect your decision, in a good or a negative way?
Yeah. That's a great question because I think one of the things that I was, I guess it's part of my innate nature to say that I'm an extrovert by nature. So in essence, I know a lot of people and have a lot of people in my life. And I don't want to say that everybody in my life was negative when I started my business. So I don't want that to come across. You do need people to believe in you. And when I decided to make that change, I went to my athletic director at the time and mentioned that this is kind of the career I wanted to. And, she was very supportive and really just was very encouraging and just wishing me the best of luck. Because I know that sometimes when you leave a job, you're put in that company or that place in an awkward position. So I gave him a month. I actually gave him another extra month so that they could find a coach and, obviously find their way and not just leave the team cold turkey.
Right.
But the hardest part, honestly, was actually leaving the swimmers. I can remember that was the hardest part of the entire thing, is just literally going in to that room. They don't know what's coming. And you are about to just hit them with a curveball to say that you're leaving. And they don't understand. They don't know why. And I'm crying. They're crying. It's like, I'm going to miss you. And I hope it's not goodbye. It's see you soon. And I feel very, again, fortunate to have a lot of those swimmers who truly believed. When I told them what I was going to do, they were very gracious, and most of them were wished me the best, and I still continue to stay in touch with me today. But I'll tell you actually where I saw a lot of change was in the circles of people that I was hanging out with. Especially, I know it sounds weird, but when I said the name of my business was going to be Coach Alex Kuhn, I kind of got a lot of funny looks like, are you a selfish individual? Do you think you're that good? Or do you think you're that great of a person that people are going to want to buy you?
Right.
And I never thought of it that way, but definitely I don't think there was that like, I never got that quote unquote, I guess the high school made fun of, laugh in your face. I just saw people fall off that said, yeah, I'm supportive of you, but never call you again, never email you again, never see how you're going. And, there's times when you need that, especially when you're starting this venture and you're starting to follow your dreams and you're starting a career where most people don't even know how to begin it or how to actually go about achieving it. It can be tough. And you have to find people that are going to believe in you and find something in you that maybe you have trouble seeing yourself. And I was very fortunate to meet several people along the way that are now in my life that I would have never met if I didn't take this journey. And I also would have never realized people that were in my life that maybe weren't as supportive or maybe as positive influences that I was hoping for in my life. So yes, it was a tough journey. It was very challenging, but I'll tell you something. The people I have in my life now they're the best. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They are the best. They are people that I truly love and would do anything for in a heartbeat.
Right. Let's talk about though, like, what did your parents say? Like, were they supportive? Were they like, that's cool, but that sounds more like a hobby than an actual job or profession. Was there any of that?
Well, I'm sure my parents are going to listen to this, so I got to be nice. But I think this is what I would say. I have the best parents in the world. They are one of those parents that I have a mom who will always say, you could do anything. And so if I was having a tough day, I would say, hey, can you look at this video and tell me how it was? And this was at a time when I'm stuttering and saying the you-knows and la-la-las. She would say, Alex, that is the best speech I've ever heard in my entire life.
Of course. And
right. Of course, I mean, I felt great, obviously. But my parents were always really supportive. But I always will say this. My parents, I have an MBA. I have all these different degrees that I achieved in my life. So it's not like I'm not educated or this was my only shot. I could have gone into a career. And I know my parents were always worried at first because they saw how down I was getting. And they would say, well, have you ever thought about just applying for this job or maybe going after this career? And I don't think it was an idea that they didn't believe in me. And I never took it that way. But I do know that parents just want their kids to be happy, and they just want their kids to be successful in whatever they do and just be happy. Right. And I know my parents, probably even to this day, don't even know exactly how I do what I do, but they see that I'm finally actually happy and I'm actually making a career of it. But I know at the time they were supportive of it, but they also wanted me to keep my options open and maybe look at different routes to get to it. But at this point, I think they're obviously they're proud. They've always been supportive of it. So I was very fortunate to have parents who believed in me.
Sure. Going along, the people that are listening, they're probably like, okay, obviously, I'm in the motivational speaking realm. You're a motivational speaker. This is all going to be about motivating. But take us through of what you learned, through your experience, from your coaching and you speaking to large groups about, changing up their job or figuring out like passion or something like that. What can you say to the person that's listening that doesn't really care for their job, that really doesn't have that desire, and they know that something else is out there for them, but they're unsure about it. They're unsure about, how things are going to go in their relationships, friends and family, kind of give somebody that's listening right now a little pep talk or a little insight to really transforming their job or their career into a direction that they feel more comfortable or they feel more rewarding with.
Oh, wow. I think that's the toughest thing. I will say this too. I know I sometimes hear, obviously when you're starting a business, you are starting to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs and people that are trying to make a life out of their passion or their business or what type of effect and impact they want to have on the world. And sometimes I read these articles that say, oh, look at those entrepreneurs. All they do is talk about, starting a business, But they never can take action. And I shake my head and I say, come on, give them a break. We all have been there. Each one of us has been a entrepreneur in our lives where we talked about it for years or months. I don't know many people that weren't thinking about starting a business or starting to get into motivational speaking or coaching or whatever their passion was and didn't have like months or years to actually think about it. So to me, when somebody says, oh, they don't desire it, that's just not true. If you're someone who is been thinking about starting a business or whatever it is that you want to get out of your job that you're tough with. I'll start with that. I think if you want to get out of your job and start your business, most often the biggest mistake I see people make is, well, it has to be either option A, I stick with my business, or option B, I get out of this and start my own business. And I say that because that's just not true. Not everybody has to go cold turkey to make a new business or to start a new venture or to be a coach or speaker. There are a plethora of options there in terms of the way that it fits your lifestyle. Because some of you, I would say, are probably parents out there with kids. I mean, to just give up your day job, go have no money coming in. I mean, it's almost like you probably feel guilty about that. There's going to be that guilt, and that's going to obviously overcloud your judgment in trying to start a new venture. And so I always say, there's always different ways to actually start a business or to get involved. Maybe you can do it as your quote unquote part-time job, or are you taking internships? If you're as a speaker, one of the things I did one of the first things I did was to find speakers out there that were successful and ask them if I could intern. Could I just watch them? And I wasn't obviously as much interested in how they spoke as much as what was going on behind the scenes. What were they doing to find prospects? What were they doing to meet people? So there's a lot of different ways out there, I think, in terms of having that necessary step to do it. There's a bunch of different ways, and I think you have to find something that you feel comfortable, excited, and that it's going to get you towards the end. The second thing that I'll actually just say real quickly is if you're not liking your job, if you're not liking where you are in your life, and you know that you need to change, the first thing that you might want to even think about is, well, why don't you like your job right now? Do you just hate your boss? Do you not like the work you're doing? What is it that is in your current situation that you're not enjoying? Because when you're able to figure that out, then you can say either A, well, if I change this in my job, maybe I'll enjoy it more, and or B, I don't want this in the new career or in the new path I'm about to take. So I better figure out a way to build a lifestyle that doesn't have those things in it anymore.
Sure. And sometimes too, I think that I guess we're going to tag team this question here. I think also a lot has to deal with there might be external things that when you go to work, you're finally really thinking about. So then it gives you a negative feeling when you're at work, and you're associating that negative feeling with your work. In actuality, it's not that you don't hate your work or you don't have a good time. You're just now having time to really think or analyze those problems that are going on at home or with your friends or whatever. And you're now associating with your work. So you're feeling like, I hate my job because it makes me feel sick to my stomach. I'm always analyzing all the problems that I have in my life, financially or whatever. And sometimes you need to separate and really take a look at what are the problems that are affecting you and or the things you do and do not like of that current job. And maybe you'll identify and go, oh, yeah, okay, maybe my job's not that bad. I just have more time to think about my actual issues, So, and that's really good points that you made. And I hate kind of going around with the job atmosphere, because a lot of people though do have questions, or they feel like they're worth so much more. And I just wanted to get your input, and I think you gave some really good tips that can help somebody at least figure out a new way to approach it. Now with your coaching, you invite a lot of people to really spill their guts to you. I mean, these people are probably investing a lot of time and effort in telling you the things that are going on with them, and they want to improve themselves, business-wise or family-wise or just personally. What are some reoccurring themes that you have found with the people that you work with that you can associate with the people that are listening now, and a couple of things to either get over those hurdles or to get over those pain points?
Oh, yeah, that's it's actually a really funny you said that, just because when I go through figuring out if I'm going to decide to work with someone as a coaching client or not, it's not as simple as just saying, okay, you want to coach with me? Fine. Here's my fee and let's get started. And here it's 2 hours per month and, it's this fee. I mean, for me, there's a couple of things that I really take pride in. One is that I want to be very invested in the person I'm coaching with, because as you said, you're investing a lot of time and energy, and that person's investing a lot of time and energy. So you try to want to see if they're committed to it. But here's the interesting thing. When you asked me about what problems I find, the first problem is they don't know what the problem is. And I know that seems like such a,
Sure.
it's like, okay, Jedi mind trick here. But what I mean by that is I'm going to use a very specific example that I sometimes deal with is that somebody will come to me and say, hey, listen, I want to lose weight and I want to lead a healthier lifestyle. It's a common coaching problem I see a lot. And and a lot of times they think, well, why do you want to lose that weight? And they'll say, well, I want to fit into these specific clothes better. I want to be a better role model for my kids. I want to be a better example. I want to do things with my life, etc. Well, that's all well and good. But if that's not motivating you, then clearly we haven't found the true reason why you want to change that aspect, meaning to lose weight and find that healthier lifestyle in your life. Meaning that the problem is, these are the surface results, but we got to dig deep to find why you emotionally and mentally are unable to make that necessary change to actually reach your goal. And so the problem, I guess you can sum it up, is I don't like to use the word motivation. I have a term, I call it power generator. And what I mean by that is, can you find that next level inside your mind and heart and soul that's going to allow you to take a risk, to believe further in yourself, to take the necessary actions that maybe you would have never realized you could possibly make?
That's interesting you say that. What do you say to the people, or have you encountered people with your coaching that have no connection with mindset, that don't have that connection of self-belief? Have you encountered anybody like that?
As far as like they don't believe in the mindset?
Yeah, like they don't buy it per se.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I a lot of times actually. I mean, I think that sometimes even the coaching clients, and one of the reasons why I say they don't know what the problem exactly is because they think it's because they need to eat better. They think they need to just exercise more. If they do this new fad thing. Another typical example of a client I work with is a person in sales. And the first thing they think is, man, if I have the perfect sales system, if I know how to do this and this and this and this, I'm going to close 1 million sales.
Sure.
Well, I'll tell you something. That is never the problem. Usually the problem is not in the sales part, because if I told somebody, if you're in sales out there, one of the things that I would say is, listen, if you can get people to like you, if you're willing to listen to them and you're willing to actually help them with their problem, more likely than not, people are going to buy from you. It's as simple as that in a technique way. I mean, I know there's a lot more details that I could go into, but the truth though is how you value yourself. How do you value what you bring to the table? And so sometimes more often than not, people don't think it's the mindset, but in the reality is to get to another level, you have to really, truly change from the inside out.
Yeah. What do you say to somebody that is in sales and they just have that block, that mental block of self-confidence? They don't believe in themselves, that they're capable of being and putting on that smiling face and walking in and being presentable and having that aura that just glows just right for those people to go, man, I really like this guy. Do you have any tips or suggestions for the people that don't mind talking to individuals or talking to new people or presenting themselves, but they feel like they have that structured face, that kind of chiseled look? They're unable to break a little smile or to feel softer and more presentable. Do you have any suggestions for those types of people?
Oh yeah, sure. Especially when it comes to if you're coaching or in sales or in a personal relationship, you're building personal relationship with someone. There's no question you want to be someone who is accessible and trusting and somebody you can open up to. And I think there's a couple things that I like to first focus on, which is before you actually even get to that person, I know it sounds weird, but don't set a goal of actually closing the sale. I know it seems a silly thing. Like, of course you want the sale on that. I get that. I know that's a very important aspect, but go in with the aspect and mindset of, can I actually help this person with their problem? Do I want to go into this meeting act like I know what they need and so I'm going to tell them everything? Or are you actually going to go in there with this mindset like, I don't know anything. I need to go in there and figure out if I can actually truly help this person. Can I truly better understand what is causing them to, whatever you're selling to them, obviously, whatever is their problem? Can I truly get to the depth of what is causing them the issue? And by having that mental approach, you're not going to go in there and say, hey, these are the benefits and this is the shiny object I'm about to sell you. You're going to go in there and ask questions. You're going to go in there and try to truly get to know that person. You're going to try to get to truly understand what it is that's causing the problem, why it's difficult, why can't they figure it out on themselves, what exactly is it that they hope to get out of this if they end up buying there. So, because here's the thing, what if you actually go and sell something that they don't need? That makes you look horrible. That makes you look that salesy and horrible tactic. So the first thing is just go in there with a different mindset, getting to understand their problem. The second thing that I would actually talk to people is, call it a technique, if you will, but feel comfortable opening up about yourself a little bit. We're not in, I mean, I know it sounds weird, but you don't have to come off like, oh, I'm the best, everything's life is great and grand. Right. And I'm not saying go in there be negative, but just go in there. If they ask, don't go in there and say, hey, how's the weather? It's cold out today. Ask them questions about themselves and feel free to open up about yourself as a person. Who are you? What's your family like? Do you have kids? It was a great weekend because my kid hit a home run at the baseball game. Oh, really? My kid actually plays baseball too. It starts to build similarities and connections with people. And then finally, the third thing that I can truly think that truly helps people when it comes to sales is this. If you should have much more value in your name versus the brand or logo that you're selling. And what I mean by that is, more often than not, I hear people when they ask somebody what they do, the first thing they like to talk about is, I work for this company and this company sells this and that.
Right.
Listen, yes, companies are great. I'm not saying that they're made up of people and they're made up of you. Find value in what you do for a living and talk about how you help people and how you make an impact.
Now, did you utilize a lot of those little techniques that you just spoke of when you were a recruiter for the swim team?
That's yes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, simply put, yes. I mean, it was a very much. Here's the thing. I wish I could come out and say that every kid's going to pick a school based on its academic reputation and the right majors and the right fit. Here's the thing. There are now over, I believe, 5,000 colleges in the country. There's so many options. And these kids are looking for help. They're looking for guidance and they're looking for inspiration. And parents are looking for people that they can connect with. And in athletics, the one person that a lot of these parents are connecting with is that coach on a regular basis. I took that as a very seriously. And in fact, a lot of the swimmers that I actually used to coach, I still stay in contact with because I vowed to the parents that I wanted to make sure they got the right education, that they were going to graduate, that they were going to leave there as successful young adults ready to take on the challenges that the world presents. And that's one of the reasons why I still stay in touch with them, not because I have to, but because I want to see them succeed.
Right. Now, what else have you realized when it comes to this private coaching? What are another kind of a big pain point people are dealing with, surprisingly more than you ever thought when you got started with this?
Most people, I know it sounds weird, but most people don't know how to actually set a goal and create a plan and systems and actually how to do it. I know it's not like most people know how to set a goal. And most people say, okay, I can set a plan. But the truth is that most people overcomplicate the process. Most people tend to think, well, I have to write the perfect plan. And then they take months and months and months to build it out and analyze it. And I can share a story. I keep all my coaching clients private because I believe their problems are their problems.
Sure.
But one of the situations I came across recently was a coaching client who we just started working together, and I asked him to kind of take me back through the timeline of his business. And he was telling me how he had been working on his business's logo for about 4 months.
Wow.
And I asked him, well, what was the first logo look like? And he showed it to me. And pretty much he just used a different font for his S. I mean, that was pretty much the only change. And I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't this guy just have a logo, get it up there, and just get moving, start acting, start meeting people? He hadn't even done any prospecting at that point. And I think that's part of the idea is that people, whether we realize that we can't be perfect or not, people tend to try to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And if they can get out of this idea that hey, just get out there and just make mistakes, figure it out along the way. Don't be shy, don't be bashful, and just take a risk. It's amazing how much further you get along by taking that route as opposed to trying to have everything planned out so perfectly and then trying to execute it.
Yeah, and it kind of, it's funny when you started talking about that, like the thing that sparked me was, I created a little invention called a tailgate spot or whatever. And I keep talking about this and whatever. But, one thing is a lot of people came up to me afterwards, after I invented my product, whatever, and they said, oh, I have this idea for this and that. And, how did you go about it? And the one thing that I kept telling people is just to get it out there, to talk to other people about it, to get their input and just to do it. They're so scared. People are so scared of putting their ideas out there that it's going to get taken or whatever. You know how much work it takes to actually get an idea from mind to physical in your hands? It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of mental capacity to do that. So why not get it out there and start talking about it on a daily basis, which will allow you to get those ideas out of your brain and actually take action on them? Because like you said, the little things seem like, oh, we got to get everything so perfect. I'm not perfect. I screw up all the time, and like you said early on with the and the stuttering or whatever. It happens. The only way to truly become your personal best, to get out there and achieve whatever you want personally, is just to go out there and make mistakes and learn from them. That's the only way, So, well said. And it's funny because when it comes to your I guess your whole story here on the way that you kind of set yourself up for this motivational speaking and stuff like that. And you and I kind of talked off mic a little bit of kind of your background when it started, how you snuck into kind of some of the seminars and it kind of got your juices flowing, when you started listening to Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and stuff. What did you what kind of sparked that inside of you, and why did you feel that you needed to take action on it? Talking about, just jumping into something. I mean, you were in a good career. You decided to, kind of follow your dreams and passions, but like go back to that moment when you're that young little kid at 11 years old. Like why did that get you to where you are now? Like how did that fundamentally get put into your body, your mind?
In the one sentence, and I'll explain it, but the sentence I'll say is, I have never been happier and more excited in my life than when I'm thinking about being a motivational speaker. And when I was thinking about that 11-year-old kid, that was the most excited I had ever been about any career or any job or any passion that I've ever had in my life. And, and so when I went back and thought about that moment, it was just I want to do that. But I think, a lot of times what happens is it's not the normal career. It's not the normal path. Right. It's, being an MBA graduate, nobody's telling you should be a motivational speaker. Nobody. Go into finances, go be a stockbroker, make, 6 figures a year. Do what, that career, it's safe, it's secure, and, there's always jobs openings. But people don't talk about passion. People don't talk about what you love doing. Right. And I don't see that in, these career counselor, analysis and tests. I see like this is your talents, this is your strengths, this is your weaknesses. And I think you need to understand that. But I also think to myself, well, have you ever just asked what you're passionate about? What do you love doing? And here's the thing, I really liked coaching. I really liked swim coaching. And, I like the interaction of people. If you took swimming out of it, I said, this would be the perfect job. And I kept saying that to myself. And I said, well, why don't I just take swimming out of it? Why don't I just get rid of it there? But I always kept just thinking back, that thought never left my mind. I always wanted to do something with it. But here's the thing, this idea that, you try to be perfect and try to find the right moment and the right time to do something. There's never going to be that right moment. There's never going to be that right time. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be a lack of finances. There's always going to be something that could hold you back, and it's not practical and it's not rational. So I always said to I guess I should say to people that always are looking to start a business or make a change in their life, what is your reason to actually do it? And are you going to let anything hold you back from realizing what you can accomplish? It's tough. It's not easy. There are going to be pitfalls. There's going to be reasons to quit. And I know I had my reasons to quit many, many, many times, but I kept sticking with it. I kept fighting and struggling. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs I meet are fighting and struggling and they don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel, but you keep going, you keep staying consistent, you keep pushing yourself and reminding yourself why you're doing this and what type of impact and why it's important to you. And I think you keep telling yourself that, you'll get there and you'll get to a level that makes you happy, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel proud. And here's the thing, you'll want to keep going. You'll want to keep fighting. Like, I'm not satisfied. I'm doing well. I work with a lot of people. People would call me successful, but I'm not satisfied. I'm still hustling. I'm still getting out there. I'm still doing everything I can every single day to make a difference in this world, to truly make an impact, which I believe someday my goal is to make an impact on 1 billion lives. And to do that, I better keep moving. And I'm not going to stop. And I know that if you're someone who wants to make a change, there's got to be that shift in that mindset that I am willing to sacrifice everything and sacrifice what it took for me to get to that point in my life to change direction and go in a different direction.
Yeah. What have you found out about yourself when you decided to take your own new direction? You know, what was something that you realized about yourself when it came to discontinuing your current position and following your passion?
Whew, that's oh man, that's that deep. All right, I want to really. You feel like you want to give a good answer, but I'll tell you something. I don't know if I mean, I guess this. You know, I'm going to say the cop-out answer is I learned I had more than I ever thought possible in myself. So yes, I did find that. I'm going to say something a little different that maybe it's real, maybe it's not, I'm not sure, but this is what I feel at this moment. What I realize is that there are probably more people out there that are going to believe in you than you've ever met in your life. And I am so thankful that I started this career because the people that actually believed in me somehow pop out like I could have never believed from different walks of life and different things. You know, just throwing a website out there and blogging, somebody from Sweden emails you
Sure.
and says, thank you so much. And you think there's nothing else left, but then you just get those little reminders that you're helping someone make a difference in your life. And I guess the thing I learned is that it's really possible that you just as yourself and your ability to really work hard can actually make a difference for someone else's life, whether it's monetarily, spiritually, personally, from a health perspective. You find out that you can learn a lot more and you can help a lot more when you just go out and just start acting.
Sure. No, that's good. And like you said, that's a tough question. So that's a good answer. Now, let me give you a scenario. It's like your last meal, but it's your last speech. Okay. What is the one thing that Coach Alex loves really hitting home when it comes to presenting to people? What is it the idea of the mindset? Is the idea of self-belief? Is it confidence, finding passion? What is the one keyword that truly if you had to give one speech on, what would it be?
I have a statement that I like to make, and I don't know, when we were talking before, I don't know if you heard me say it, but when somebody says how your day's going, I like to say, oh, I'm being productive, instead of saying the normal, I'm busy, or today's a busy day.
Sure.
We all can be very busy in our lives. Everybody's busy. Everybody I've ever met in any walk of life, even if they're just sitting in front of the TV all day, they're busy. Right? I mean, their favorite show's on.
Right.
So the thing I tell people that, to get out of their head, actually think less and do more. Don't wait. Don't try to find this motivation. Just, if there's make a decision, make a quick decision and start acting on it. Don't wait for this moment. Don't talk to millions of people about it. You're just going to cloud your judgment. And I always like to use this example. Have you ever, and maybe I'm asking you this, have you ever gone to a restaurant and there's a million things on the menu and you just don't know what to buy?
Yes.
Everybody's been there. Okay. So yes, you can have multiple and millions of options out there to say, should I do this? Should I do that? Pick one and do it. And then after so much time, say, did you like it? Was it the right path? Was it the wrong path? Should I change something different? You're going to learn a lot more, and you're more likely going to gain ground on A, what you truly are passionate about, B, who you want in your life, and C, where you want your life to go.
Sure. What keeps you motivated? Like, how do you get yourself jacked up and excited and passionate? Like, how do you pull that out of you when you are gloomy? You're just not feeling like yourself. You're feeling a little worn out. You're feeling exhausted. Just, things maybe a speaking event, failed the day before and it's on your mind. What does Coach Alex do to get himself motivated to take the day full on?
Well, it's funny you say that because I can tell people right now that I've had a ton of failures. I've had, I've made every mistake in the book you can possibly do. And here's the thing. I thought I read everything up. Well, hey, this is how you set up this system or how you go about
right.
this speaking engagement. And here's point A, point B. So I have failed miserably. I have continued to fail, and I continue to actually make mistakes on a daily basis, and in a variety of things. And I'm not just talking about business. I'm just talking about my personal life, and I'll admit that one of my guilty traits is that sometimes I work too much. And as a result, I sacrifice time with people that I love, that I should be spending time with them. So one of the things that keeps giving me motivation is to really wake up every day. And I have a very standard ritual that I do every single morning, that I go down, I close my eyes, I do my visualization techniques to think about what does this day look like and what does my life look like 50 years from now. And I visualize that, I wake up, I go do my workout for that lasts about an hour, then I give myself a healthy breakfast, and then I literally sit down and write my one goal that I have to get done today. And so that pattern really, here's the thing. I do that pattern when I'm sick. I do that pattern when I'm not feeling well. I don't know if it's this idea where I sit there and say, okay, I'm feeling horrible, so I should just quit. I think I just now at this point have gotten into a pattern that it would feel very awkward if I didn't do this. So that being said, if there's those days where you're just feeling like the worst, if you're feeling miserable, if you're just, I don't want to do this, I don't want to put my effort into it, I sometimes take a step back. I go to my whiteboard, or I just go to my, not happy place, but just visualize and just remind myself, why am I doing this? What is the impact I'm trying to make? Who am I trying to help? How's this going to make my family's life better? And I try to pull out all these different areas that are important to me. And the more I think about those, I personally get this sense of urgency, and I get this sense of, I got to get this done now. I've got to get there sooner than I currently am.
Right. What, people that are listening right now, they love what you're talking about. They love your mindset. They love your positivity. They love everything that you're speaking of. Where is something that, or what, do you have any suggestions for a person that's listening for the first time that's like, wow, this guy has his stuff together? What were a couple of things that really put you in a good peace of mind? Were there a couple of books that really struck a chord with you? Things that you just fall back on, like, this is one of the best things I've ever heard, I've ever read. Any tools or anything like that you could suggest to somebody that kind of getting into this for the first time?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, because actually my favorite book of all time is by Dale Carnegie, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's an oldie, but a goodie. And I actually read that book at least once a year.
Wow.
No question. It's not because I don't know if I learned anything new. I just, honestly, I really feel good about the way he approaches if you've never read the book, it's not about actually how to make friends. It's not a book of like, oh, I want to find friends, this is how I do it. It's truly, I think, a book of how to treat people, and how to treat people with respect, and how to give back, and how to truly look at what you're doing. And it's not about you, it's about the people that you're surrounding yourself with. So that book has had a really big impact on me. Actually, things I do, I read a lot. So there's a lot of great books out there, but I actually prefer video. I've listened to Tony Robbins a lot, and I'm sure your listeners know who Tony Robbins is.
Sure.
But just getting on YouTube and just listening to speeches, I pick up so much each and every day. But I do Eric Thomas. I think he's right now probably the most well-known motivational speaker in terms of just, the energy he brings. I watch his speeches just because A, it fires me up, but B, I'm trying to learn something. And I think that's the core message of it. If you can find a way to learn something to help better yourself, that learning process is just motivation in itself. The more knowledge and abilities and talents you're generating and bringing into your own mind and heart and body, you get to use that. You get to use that for your business and for your family and in your job or whatever it is that you're doing, and it never goes away. So as crazy as it sounds, the best investment you can ever make is in yourself and just learning more.
Yeah, and going off of that, learning more, and I think truly I agree with you 110%. I think everybody needs to read more and learn just a little bit every single day, even though they might be exhausted from work or whatever. Do you have any tips for time management, for getting more out of the day? That seems, like you said earlier on, everybody's busy. Even the guy watching the TV, for 5 episodes in a row, he's so swamped he can't do anything. Do you have any tips or suggestions for the people that are so swamped they don't even feel like they can crack open a book, or if they do, it's right before bed and they're going to fall asleep as soon as they start reading it? Do you have any tips for them?
Oh yeah, actually, time management is a unique topic, because I always say the first thing people want to do is they want to find times to be more efficient with their day.
Right.
They want to find more ways to actually say, okay, can I get this done in 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes? Can I get this done? How do I go about it? Well, as crazy as it sounds, the first thing you need to start doing is actually valuing yourself, which means valuing your time. And when you actually start with that mindset, you start to look at those hours in your day and you have to say to yourself, well, where do I want to spend my hours today? If I have kids, I want to spend as many hours as I possibly can with them because I love them. So am I going to stay at the office at 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock to get something done and then miss my kids that day? And when you start to say, wow, these are the hours I want to spend with my time and day, you're going to actually start to structure your meetings, your work schedule, your drive very differently there. It means that instead of having that hour and a half long conversation where maybe it wasn't as important to you, it just was 15 minutes, you could have gotten everything done. Now you're going to say, hey, I got to get this done sooner because now I know what my priority is. So the first thing they say is figuring out exactly what valuing your time and understanding to say, hey, this is what I want my day to be centered around, finding maybe a specific focus. And so I have to get these things done quicker so I can focus on the things that are important to me. So that's the one time management thing. Obviously it's a mindset thing.
Right.
Here's the second thing. How often do you say no on a daily basis? It's the simplest technique. But people are going to constantly ask you for things and constantly ask you for help and ask you for advice and ask you for this and ask you for that. And the reason they're doing that is because you're someone of value that can help them. You're someone that truly has, whether it's knowledge or information or they just like being around you. But every time you say yes, you're actually saying no to something else. Getting into the habit of just saying no to something, not in a mean way, but just starting to say no because you don't have the time, because this time needs to be set aside for this.
Sure.
That's one of the best techniques I've actually helped a lot of clients learn. And truly, I'll tell you something, it's a hard thing for me to do. I love helping people. So I want to say yes all the time. But
right. I
know that every time, again, I try to remember myself, if I say yes to this person, I'm going to probably, if it wasn't something that was in my mission or is a part of my day, I may not have finished my goal. And if I don't finish my goal, then I'm going to feel miserable as a result of it. So just getting into a habit of just saying no, saying it kindly, but just saying no or pushing it to a later time where you can fit it in allows you to really, truly focus on that day, I believe.
Yeah, and it's so funny because people want that quick fix. They want that secret that nobody has ever heard of or that pill, to give you more time or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's something as simple as saying no. And probably the people that are listening are like, well, of course, yeah, you just say no. I mean, you don't have all the time in the world, of course. But when you're in that situation, when you're at work and people just keep on laying things on top of one another, I can't even talk now. It's funny how you think to yourself in a moment of calmness when you're listening to this. It's obvious, of course, you're going to say no. You don't have all the time in the world. But when you're in that situation, it just compiles and compiles. Saying no, it doesn't come into your mind. You never think of it when you need it the most. It hits you obviously now, but that's what I love about, I guess, the self-help and the motivation is that the things we've talked about for the last 45 minutes is nothing earth-shattering. It's not like this is new stuff that has never been talked about before or anything like that. It's just the constant reminders to keep ourselves on track. And everybody wants that quick fix, like I said. but it's the fundamental things that truly do work, and we just need to implement them more and more into our daily lives. The one thing I wanted to get back to was about goal setting. You touched on that briefly, and then I kind of asked another question. I totally was I was actually going to ask you, how do you tell people, your clients, or even in your speeches of people, or how to set up a goal?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's yeah. You might have hit my favorite topic, actually. Goal setting is a really interesting topic for me, not because it's complicated, but because people usually forget the first step of goal setting. And when most people think about goal setting, this is at least my experience, and when I come across people, the first thing they want to do is they want to set down what I call the metric, meaning, if you're a business, how much money do I want to make this year? If you're trying to lose weight, how much weight do I want to lose this year? If whatever that is, usually people start with the what, meaning that they want to figure out exactly what that number is, what's that revenue, what's going to validate that goal for them there. And then they start planning around that goal. Well, here's the reason I say it's the problem is not because that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, it's the steps that are necessary in order to achieve something. You have to set a number down, you have to set a specific metric, and you have to build a plan around it. The thing that you first usually miss is, I believe it's Simon Sinek, he called it the why factor, meaning why are you actually focused? Why is this so necessary in your life? Because it's very simple to go out and set a goal. What's the most difficult thing for most people is to actually have the consistency and the drive and the motivation and the passion to keep going and going and going, especially when things aren't going well. And if you're not taking the time every single day, whether it's through a journal, whether it's through visualization, whether it's through some sort of internal factor, I'm not talking like 20 hours of your life. I'm talking about 5 minutes a day to remind yourself, this is important to me because this is the type of change I want to have in the world. This is the type of person I want to be. This is going to allow me to do these things for those that I love. That, it resonates. It's like you're starting to tell a story a little bit to yourself. And as you're building that story, and as you're kind of building these little memories little by little, you're starting to build this generator that, again, I think I mentioned earlier, called the power generator, where you're building this momentum behind you that is just this full steam ahead that says, I can do this. It feels good. It excites me. It fires me up. It gets me to the point where I can't fail. I have to do this there. That's not rational. That's emotion. That's a story that you're building in your mind. It has to be done. It gets under your skin. It makes your heart beat a little bit faster. It's what is truly the reason that goals are achieved. It's not because of the goal itself or the plan. It's because of your desire to have it happen. And if you're not working on that on a daily basis, it's very difficult to achieve that metric.
I love that, man. I think I'm going to have to steal some of those ideas that you just said there for goal setting.
Oh, yeah. And I'm learning every day. I think that, right. When I'm going to really quickly, that time management thing, because it reminded me of something else I wanted to point out, was that, when the time management piece is talking again about, when I mentioned valuing your time, I'm not saying that you have to say no and be a jerk about it to everybody around you, but it's this idea that when you look at your day, you just have to look at it and say, I'm valuable enough to actually do something for myself. I'm actually valuable enough to be, it may feel selfish to you. Actually, a lot of times people feel bad about saying no. And it's like, and that's the guilty part of you. And you almost have to stop that guilty part. You have to stop telling yourself that you should feel bad for doing something for yourself. You should feel bad for spending time on objects and projects and with people that you'd rather spend time with, because that's what's going to make you happy, and that's going to allow you to be a better person for those around you.
Well said, man. We're kind of getting tight on time, but how can people get in contact with you, Alex?
Yeah, actually, what you can do is you can actually go to my website. It's Coach Alex Kuhn. That's Coach Alex, and my last name is spelled KUHN.com. I have different ways you can contact me. You can fill out a form. Obviously, a couple things I do provide are obviously motivational speaking services and one-on-one coaching for those who are struggling to overcome obstacles in their life. But that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I also have a phone number. It's 888-553-1298, and that's another way to get a hold of me.
Yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes and everything like that, a link to your website as well. And the last question I have for you, what does a self-reset mean for you?
Go into bed. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny. I know you gave me that question before and I had time to think about it and I didn't have I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still a tough question to answer. I really think that this is my answer, that no matter what happened today or what happens the rest of your day, no matter what time you're listening to this, that if it was the worst day of your life, that tomorrow's a new day and it can be the best day of your life. And no matter where you are in your life and no matter what's happening, you have the ability to make each day something brand new and something special.
Dude, right on. You nailed it. That was good. That's Operation Self-Reset right there.
Yeah, I love this podcast, and I really appreciate having me on there.
Dude, Alex, man, I appreciate you spending time with us, and I know that your information, your wisdom, and the way to go about things is really going to help a lot of people. And for the people that are listening, you got to check Alex out. He has some really good content, and he's a guy that followed his passion, and you can just tell it in your voice. You know what I mean? You really have a desire for helping, and as you and I both know, like Zig Ziglar said, the more I'm screwing it up. What the heck? What's that quote that he always says at the end of his speeches? You can get everything in life that you want if you help another people get what they want.
That's
there we go. Wow, I struggled on that one.
That's okay. Say it 5 times fast now.
Right. Cool, Alex, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and we'll keep in touch.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it as well.
Nice job, Alex. Very good.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It'll probably go out mid-February-ish. I can't be exact for sure, but yeah, man, really clean. Obviously, you're a good presenter. You're a good speaker, and a lot of those questions, I mean, obviously you have spoken of before, but to get them one right after another is always a challenge. And myself, I'm getting on a couple more podcasts, so it's kind of funny to hear how you approach it and how I ask the question. So it's just kind of interesting on a behind the scenes kind of look of how you did, but you did awesome, man. I mean, you really, you're fun, you're lighthearted, and I think you hit home a lot of the stuff that you preach in your work, man. So,
oh, thanks, I appreciate that. No, this was fun. These are the things I really enjoy doing. So, yeah, I really appreciate it. And like I said, obviously, anything I can help you with in terms of your speaking career and whatever it is, please. Don't be bashful. Feel free to email me anytime or call, whatever. I'll be glad to help.
Oh, for sure, I will. And I was actually going to email you when I get together, like kind of my email that I was planning on sending out to people. Maybe you could take a look at it and say, hey, this is too much of this or that or whatever. I would be very grateful for that. And then also too, do you have a mastermind with other speakers?
I don't actually. Okay. And here's the reason why. It's not because there aren't good organizations out there. I never pursued that. Like I was never looked at it as like I needed that to help me grow my speaking business. And maybe I do eventually, but I guess maybe my mindset is like I want to start talking to the Brendan Burchards and the Les Browns of the world. That's kind of my vision. So that's I almost think of myself, maybe that's just a fault of mine. Like I want to speak to those type of people about their speaking careers, or Josh Shipp.
Right.
That's another person that comes to mind. But those are the people I'm trying to have on my podcast. So I guess it's kind of like trying to find those types of people that you're kind of attaching yourself with in terms of name and brand and recognition, if you will. But,
Jeez, all three of those are powerhouses. Brendan Burchard is amazing. Have you ever seen him speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. He, it's funny because obviously you and I are both very interested in speaking, and the way that he talks about that story of, how he was on the car and it flipped over and blood or whatever. If you take a look at the other people that are in that audience, he hook, lines, and sinkers them in so deep, they almost feel obligated to buy his course. You know what I mean? Even if they don't have anything, if they don't want to be an expert in anything, you know what I mean? It's just so. He's a very good presenter, and he's such a powerhouse. I mean, the guy is pumping out top tier books. I mean, he's doing everything. So
yeah, I learn so much every time I watch his stuff. I mean, I know that I'm learning about how to build a business every single day, and so you're trying to find mimicking, right? You're trying to mimic those people. Here's an example. I would take I would take easily 3 months off. I would sacrifice it to go work with him for free. And just not like him, just like in his group. So I could see how he runs his organization and stuff. And like you said, like you may not learn anything new. It's just you get around those people and it breathes a new life in there. Like I know, like for me, I mean, I'm not sure what groups you're on, but like I'm in that school of greatness and, talking with Lewis Howes, like he's a dynamite guy.
Right.
And just having been around him and a couple other people in that group, it's just, they're 7 or 8 figure people. And it's just, being around that type of mindset, that's where I know you asked me that time management question. It's like, I got to work faster. I gotta move quicker than I actually am today. And people are like, Alex, slow down.
Right.
It's like, so you start to kind of almost pick up these little things that maybe you never even realized.
Sure. Have you ever taken a course from Brendan at all? Have you gone?
I'm going to actually do the Total Product Blueprint.
You are? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But I mean, honestly, truthfully, more of that was because I was more interested in Experts Academy and going out there and going to that speaking event and those sorts of things. So, but yeah, I just did buy that program.
Sure. Yeah, man. We'll keep in touch, and I'll love to, and whatever I can help you with either. Obviously I'm a newborn, getting into the game here, but I know you already have great connections for starting your podcast and stuff like that. So if I can be any assistance of, how to set something up or, whatever I use to get yourself going in the right direction, I'm open doors to you too. So, it's a mutual thing. So
I appreciate that. Yeah. Cause I'm sure I'll bug you with a question here or there about the podcast. And, if you don't mind, do you mind just giving me like a day or two notice that when you're going to put out the podcast?
Yeah, sure. I usually give about a week, week before, and I send you the links and everything like that. So you're good to go on your end, and same here. So cool, Alex, man. Honestly, like seriously, you gave me so much clarity. I could not thank you enough. I was so nervous of trying to formulate these speeches beforehand, but I realized I don't even need to do that. I mean, obviously, I'll do that when the time comes, but it gave me clarity of understanding that I can adjust to every single person that I present to and formulate a custom speech to them, and instead of these manufactured, pre-recorded speeches. It just gave me such a glimmer of hope. So, yeah, man, thank you so much. Oh, last question. How do I get these emails? Should I just get in contact with these corporations, these companies, and just, get at the base level and try to work my way up through the grapevine?
Yeah, one of the things, if you're just getting emails and stuff like that, one thing is just go through the chamber, and even just try to get those email lists. They have them all up there located, so you can find decision makers galore.
The Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For each city?
So, for each city, yeah. Usually each city has like a bunch of chambers. Like they have ones for districts and townships and areas of the part of their city. Like I know Pittsburgh has, I want to say it has like 7 or 8 chambers.
Oh.
And, people are like, well, you have to buy in to get those emails. That's not true. A lot of times now they put it on their website. So that they can it's like they're advertising. Well, guess what? They're advertising for you to call them and get a hold of them there. So, they get some solicitation, that sort of thing. But it's just, that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is actually, I'm assuming you go to networking events or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just literally the simplest way is to, I always try to say, I have a goal of always meeting 10 people at a networking event that has an interest in speakers or listens to speakers, even if they're not a decision maker. And then I just try to do a follow-up phone conversation with them and just ask them if they know of anybody who may be looking for a speaker for a future engagement. Or if they are the decision maker, ask them when do they like to bring speakers in? And then just put that in my pipeline to call them 3 months out and how they plan and how they go about hiring speakers. But that's how I kind of do it.
Okay, cool. Alex, man, thank you so much. We'll keep in contact and look forward to my email, and we'll go from there, man. It's hey, first of all, or last of all, it was very nice to connect with you finally. So
yeah, I know, finally there. So hey, no problem there, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Wow, one heck of a guy, huh? Thank you to Coach Alex for coming on the Operation Self Reset podcast. If you guys want to find more ways to connect with Coach Alex, to find out what he's about, to get the resources and tips and tools that we spoke of today, head on over to osreset.com/coach Alex. Because Coach Alex totally crushed this interview, I asked him to do the Motivational Minute for tomorrow. That is right. This will be our first Motivational Minute with a guest appearance. I think Coach Alex has the ability to motivate, inspire, and to have you guys take action. So that is why I asked him to do the Motivational Minute. Make sure you tune on in tomorrow morning when the Motivational Minute will be aired on Thursday. It's actually aired every Thursday. It's a little jolt of motivation between 3 and 5 minutes long. You got to go and check it out. Like always, guys, you guys rock. Head on over to the Facebook fan page, sign on up, and next week, Wednesday, we will have another great podcast, and it's kind of it's going to be a personal one. It's just going to be me. I'm going to be talking about the restructure of Operation Self Reset. I found out a couple of things that I want to do with this podcast about this company that I am trying to build to inspire the world, and it would be greatly appreciated if you stay tuned for next week, Wednesday, for another great episode. Until then, guys, take action, reset your life, and remember, the only way to succeed is to try again. Take care, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Operation Self Reset podcast. Find out more ways to reset at www.osreset.com.